Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, with the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force.
They've outgrown their age of rebellion, dulled the Empire's edge, defeated Imperial generals and the Pirate Queen's dredge. They've been soldiers and scoundrels, what's there left to be? How about lost acolytes looking for their force and destiny? There's a seer, hermit, investigator, and teacher. Better watch your back or a vibro ring's gonna reach you. Will this team find the light or will darkness win the day? Find out with the heroes of the Hydian Way.
Welcome to Heroes of the Hydian Way. This is a Star Wars actual play podcast, and we're playing in Fantasy Flight Games' Force and Destiny system, using the Chronicles of the Gatekeeper adventure as developed by Tim Cox and Max Brook. This is Act 1, Question Episode 2. And I'm Ben, the GM for this adventure and shenanigans.
I'm Ren, and this is the very last time you'll hear me talk first. So enjoy that, or something.
I'm Christine.
And I guess I'm Leslie. I just want to point out that we always hear Ben first. Technically.
Of the players.
Mm-hmm.
Context clues, my friend.
Willing ignorance.
and I'm Brandon, playing the human millennial game designer. Millennial's the career, game designer's the spec. That's my joke.
Oh, good golly.
So, moving on
I'm
from
trying to figure
that
out what my
joke.
spec is now.
So this is our second part of our Q&A. We still had a few more general player questions, and the next set of them are all from Rune Larson via an email that we received just a couple of days ago. Thank you, Rune, for these awesome questions. They really made our day.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is, after playing for a while now, how do you honestly feel the differences, if any, in Force and Destiny compare to earlier Age of Rebellion and Edge of the Empire, both as a GM and players? So basically, how do we feel Force and Destiny is different from the other two branches of this game?
I've played Force and Destiny enough prior to this that this is kind of just still the thing. But the two big ones are, first, the greater availability and utility of Force abilities. All games had ways to be Force sensitive and had a few Force powers, but Force and Destiny really brings that stuff to the fore in a lot of ways and introduces a lot more talents that you have to be Force sensitive to have that represent using the Force, but in a not quite a power way. The other thing is that it's just less skill-based, sort of. The fact that you drop one of your free points during character creation, and that also the specs just kind of have a bit of a different overall layout for career skills, I think does have kind of a big effect on turning Force and Destiny a little bit away from blasters and stealing stuff. Or blasters and blowing stuff up. You can certainly still do those things. They're harder to come by.
But now vibro rings, though.
Yeah, it's a little easier to find melee, I think. It might not be, I don't know. I've never done an actual audit.
It is career-wise, I feel like it is, or rather, I think it pops up more in career, where I think plenty of specializations have ranged light or heavy. I'm sort of spaced about.
Yeah, but even in specs, like, it can be kind of hard. I had trouble finding a spec to start with that would give me range light so that I could throw the vibro rings with, like, much ability, because there just weren't as many of them as I was used to. And that's partially because, as you said, like, melee is... You more often get melee from the career, and so all the specs have it.
All right, Ren, what do you think?
I just don't really have a very strong feeling for this question, other than what we, hit upon in the other one, where I feel like in Edge, since I had the obligation thing, I always had kind of like a little bit of a melancholy thing in the background, and this one's a little, for me, feels a little lighter on my, I don't know, mental capacity, I guess. I don't know wording. I don't have a strong feeling on this.
Leslie?
What made you turn neutral? Honestly, I'm same boat. I feel like while it seems like we've been playing this for a long time because we're on our first break, I still feel like we haven't really gotten to the meat of it yet. That makes it feel very special. I mean, Brandon obviously pointed out some very specific mechanical things that I can see, but I think I'm still trying to figure out the whole Force scene. So maybe I'm not aware enough as a player to have viable input at this point.
How do you feel from the GM perspective, Ben?
For me, it all comes down to what you're going to bring to it. If you're going to run a light, breezy thing, there can be almost no differentiation between it. Say you're going to run like a Clone Wars adventure, where you're trying to go in the mode of either the Clone Wars TV show or the Samurai Jack style thing. You can do that with this system and it works well. The way that this adventure is makes me want to look at the hooks that are presented with this system that are out of morality, that are out of conflict, that are also out of the history that is there in the galaxy. This is 20 years into a fascist rule, and this is 20 years after a war that the losers were just ground under the boot. Like, the boot first landed on separatist worlds and expanded from there. We're going from a tree to Cato Nemoidia. It was one of the Nemoidian purse worlds. A big one. I think this is even where Plo Koon dies. The things that you can examine in this of the long history of war and the occupation of a place, the adventure asks a bunch of questions that the system allows you to really mull around. I can't really pull those two separate. The adventures for heroes have been pulled from stuff that allows you to examine what is there with these settings. Force and Destiny, at least in the default setting, which is the Galactic Civil War, it's what's it like to be a Jedi around the time of Yavin. But somewhere between the Battle at Yavin with the explosion of the first Death Star and the assault on Hoth, where the rebellion's almost wiped out. How is it like to be there in this very tumultuous galaxy? To me, it's a very evocative time period. With the edge of the Empire, you're really looking at the underworld, the seedy underworld of the galaxy. Age of Rebellion, it's a lot more stark black and white. It's essentially what lines are you not willing to cross to maintain that. Force and Destiny is how do you not just succumb to the pain and the suffering that is around you and let it permeate you? That's kind of the question that gets posed to my players. Some of them rise, some of them fall, and to me, it's in the setting, the intent behind that. It may not be there entirely mechanically. As I say, mechanically, you can run a bouncy Clone Wars campaign off of this system very easily, but where you've got moral clarity and all that fun stuff, where you're not even killing a lot of stuff on account of you're just destroying droids. And at least according to movie and TV censors, that's just robots, so who cares?
So much disrespect.
Okay, Brandon, you have the next question to ask?
Do you discuss and align your expectations and plans for the character developments with each other between episodes, or is it pure improv along the way? And this is still Rune Larson, so quite a few of these.
Yep.
For my part, it's a mix as far as discussing. It's a lot of, we'll sometimes talk about things, and then a lot of it becomes improv for a while, and then at certain junctures, we either as a group or in just on our own between each other might talk about where we want to go from where we are, especially if we kind of are looking for a bit of a change from what has been in the improv. At least that's my opinion / perception.
Yeah, I mean, this season we haven't had to do, or at least I have not had to, speak to anyone aside about where we were going with anything.
Leslie, what do you think?
I mean, I think for the most part I'm comfortable playing it as it goes, but we do sometimes independently kind of, like you and we've had a couple of conversations more about background things than things going on in current time, like because we established that Hillary and Cash had been traveling together for a little while. You and I had that conversation about...
Hey, heck, we role-played part of it.
Yeah, we did, and it was awesome. We ended up in a diner because heroes.
Yeah.
Just gotta be food involved, apparently.
What's their fire extinguishing system?
There was no fire in the diner.
It was strange. I'm not quite sure what that was about.
We had abruptly left the bar before the diner, but the diner was fine.
Oh, okay.
That Nikto had it coming.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's conversation like that, but I don't think there's planning or adjusting unless, when Christine reached out to me after the whole Kesh is being a horrible person. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. After the Markle fight. But, we do what we do, and then we're a pretty solid table. We're buds. So if we need to talk, we can talk.
Yeah.
I think.
I think so. I mean, we've been doing that right now for a character bit. We just need to actually put more time into it. All right, any other thoughts on that one?
Sounds like a no.
All right, take it away, Ren.
All right. When players sometimes briefly take over NPC roles, have they been instructed by Ben first about the NPC's goals and motives? And if so, how do you prepare for this?
Just, I guess, to take the first part of that. So when we played the NPCs for, well, both friends like these back in the day, back in Series 1, and for the section in Series 3 here, Ben provides us with a name and some, like, a character description and maybe a few personality traits or a goal they're aiming for. Nothing too elaborate, but sort of enough to help us get grounded and give us an idea of where the character needs to go for the story. Sometimes it's looser than that. See Matu's mom back also in Series 1. So then I am curious for the second half of it. How did each of us sort of prepare for portraying an NPC, especially alongside our PC for this act?
Well, Ben gave me Oh, sorry, you were not done.
Nope, go ahead. I was about to call on somebody, so you volunteering just save me from doing that.
There was a pause, so I thought... Well, Ben gave me pretty good notes about the motivation of Oh Dear, and then in terms of preparation, I, sat in my car and practiced a voice for a good long while, which I didn't end up using, because voices can be hard. But that's the prep I did.
What about you, Brandon?
I didn't do a lot of prep, which is kind of my MO.
Slacker.
Well, if I don't come into my actual player characters with like a ton of stuff in my brain already, Ben gave some general guidelines as far as like how the character fit into the conflict that existed, what their goals and preferences were, so that I assume we wouldn't just like all walk in there and have the NPCs agree on the thing we wanted them to do. And I kind of thought through and came to the session with how I thought I wanted those things to be present in the way the character acted. So I had done that amount of prep as far as taking Ben's out of character plot notes and considering how that could shape the character as I played them.
All right, Leslie, have you gone?
No. I haven't,
right.
but
Well-
I shall. I was running a character out of whole cloth, Ben?
Yeah, that one got made up the session before, or at least named the session before.
Okay.
Because, yeah, Lina is out of whole cloth, but, yeah, showed up when they were doing the West Side Story thing.
So I basically picked, like, I thought about where she would have been that she came to disagree with the way things were working. And I figured that maybe that was from her doing research and being more book-oriented, like history and everything.
Mhm.
So in my head, I basically made her like a scribe, and then she disagreed with her father. Bam. Character.
Okay.
Or something.
So now let me expand this question a little bit. Ben, from your side of things, we know what materials you present us with, but how do you prepare to have that many characters in our hands as opposed to in yours? Is there like a loss of control there, or how does that work for you from the GM side, I guess is what I'm really trying to ask.
I trust the four of you enough that honestly I just brought popcorn. I know that for the two people who got characters that were actually from the adventure, I gave you what the adventure said, and then also a few of my little things of, well, this is how it works in the bigger context. So that was Odir and Ko. Those are the two elders that are actually in the adventure. Brandon created an entire ritual. So, yeah, that's kind of showing, like, all the Kato stuff was just Brandon.
Oh, yeah. I just made that up.
Yeah, there was that. There was all the roots stuff, which I thought was brilliant improvising. But it was, you're right, I gave a starting and I gave a general end point. That was about all that I really could. I figured, well, I trust the four of you. You've got your end points that you're all trying to go for. I want to see how it works out. And then your actual characters started showing up too to shift things. Because without the heroes here, Otir would definitely have won that.
If it weren't for you.
So now what we
kids.
need to discuss is how to hyphenate the
And our
name.
meddling Gudge.
Yes.
On a similar topic here, also a question from Rune Larson. Players, how do you prepare for each episode, if at all? How much time do you spend and doing what?
I don't.
Yep.
I reread notes. Like, I skim my notes from the previous session if we're going into something in the middle, but that's about it. So if I seem wildly inconsistent, now you know my secret.
I have a running document that I catalog what questions I've already asked if it's my turn to ask another player a question, because I want to make sure that I didn't repeat anything or ask anything too similar to anything that anybody else has already asked. And I also, in that same running document, have sort of an episode by episode what I've said in my, because this season I was the first player to speak thing, so I had to figure out what the shtick was going to be. I just sort of update my notes. I am the kind of person that is always really scared of seeming too shaky about the rules while we're recording, so I go back over my character sheet, and if I think we're about to head into a combat, I'll reread the rules of my gun, because it's complicated.
Yes.
And then I'll make sure that I have something to drink, and if it is the temperature that it is now, a blanket to burrito in.
For my part, I prepare questions in advance. I have a little document within Kesh's character sheet where I track those things, and I also mark off what I've asked, and that way I can also easily
Markov.
I can easily track who I've asked questions to. I find overall I do a lot less prep work as Kesh than I did as Cav probably because Cav included a lot of additional characters in the form of the droids.
A lot of sundry.
Yeah, or the crafting stuff, or, you know, I would generate things like, okay, what are some funny Star Wars sounding genres of music? You know, I don't know. I just ended up creating and having a lot more reference material ready for that character than I do now. Okay, so now from here, we're going into some questions that are specifically towards a certain member of the cast, or even to a certain character on the show itself. So first up, we have a few questions for Brandon.
Hooray.
Yay.
In the hot seat now, son.
Yeah.
I'll lead off with, why is Koba traveling with these lunatics when he seems to prefer flying solo?
Well, I think the assumption that Koba prefers to fly solo is perhaps erroneous. But
how many partners have been dead around Koba? Like, I remember 2 so far.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't let anyone get close to me because they'll die.
Oh, yeah,
well,
there's
right.
that too.
That's not the same as flying solo. I just have to make sure not to get attached. I mean, the real answer is that he's a character in an RPG. But the in-character answer is he started out more invested in this quest, basically, and just kind of accepting that the other 3 characters were also kind of part of this because of the Force. Though over time, as much as he may not openly admit it, he does have some caring developing for his compatriots.
The family has been found.
Might not go that far yet.
Hey. So, Brandon, how aware is Koba of his Force powers?
As far as being aware of the things he can do, pretty aware. And cognizant of the areas where he's developing his abilities. Koba, I think, both knows a lot of things about the Force, academically anyway, as much as anybody can in this era who isn't a Jedi, while still kind of doubting that any of it's true. But as time goes on, as he has gained more Force abilities, he's having to kind of reevaluate the things that he once thought were probably mostly myth made to con the populace or conceal corruption or something over the centuries in the Republic and now the Empire. He does not feel like he understands them, though. That's a definite key. That is still he wants answers.
Well, clearly it's a gift from the scorekeeper. There you go. Answer delivered.
It's not a convincing answer.
This question is highlighted in orange. Does that mean it's me?
Yes, I just saw somebody just didn't do the text in orange. They just did a highlight instead. So,
okay.
so it's still your question.
Wait a
asked.
minute, is this a different system?
No, but this is our first in-character question. This is from Solomon, an IG droid turned correspondent to Koba.
Koba, how often do you hear that being a dove, you surely oughta know the great Sebulba? As if all dogs were supposed to know each other. Or perhaps you do know Sebulba? If so, feel free to elaborate on your relation for a bit, please.
Sebulba. Well, at one point in time, yeah, he was about the best known Doug. In most of the Rim, anyway. You know, closer to the core, sometimes they would know some of the representatives of Malastair instead, but any cantina, or dive bar, or converted starfighter hangar that now hosted a bunch of, like, Jawas instead. Sebulba's the one they knew. And yeah, sometimes I'd get that thing where they're like, you look just like Sebulba, and I'm like, I really don't. All I can say is, well, best of my knowledge, Sebulba didn't exactly have a clean reputation. And once the Empire outlawed pod racing, well, even the greats faded away. It was around the same time I really started my career as an investigator. Sometimes I still keep my ear to the ground for word about Sebulba, the legend. When I get it, it's usually not good. But I listen. We definitely never met. Nobody's ever seen us in the same place at the same time.
But now if we put you in a pod racer...
Look. Doug get defensive driving as a talent.
Uh-huh.
That's just the way it is.
Should we focus more on the defensive than the driving?
I mean, look. You didn't bring me on this adventure to be your wheelman, but I will if I have to be.
This is Star Wars. We don't need wheels.
But pod racers are not suitable for escape vehicles. At least not for 4 of us, maybe 1 of us, maybe just me.
I don't know, have you seen some of the size of those pod racers? They get huge.
We can all fit on an engine.
Okay, yeah. Cash,
I've even
you go
heard of
ahead.
people turning, the engines of them into like makeshift swoops. So we can make this work.
You go ahead and hang on to the engine while I'm running it, if that's what you want, Cash.
So I'm the next set of questions. So, yeah.
Why? I know this is a weird question for me to ask. I'm totally just asking off the cuff.
Uh-huh.
Does Kesh actually travel with Hillary?
Okay, so are you asking? I guess you're asking me, not Cash, right? That's the important thing here.
Well, yes, I suppose.
Okay, so Cash is traveling with Hillary because she genuinely enjoys his company, and she's lonely. Cash has lost a lot of friends over the years. She's had lots of time where she's been isolated or cut off from folks, and Hillary is somebody she relates to at least some extent in terms of they both have strong bonds of family, but also it's more complicated than that, as well as she also looks out for him. Cash would like to think that she's out there in part to also protect Hillary, even if the events of Act 1 have demonstrated Hillary doesn't really need protecting. Hillary will take care of himself. So yeah, that's really what it boils down to.
Okay, cool. Not that I needed to know that, of course.
What?
Not in awkward robot voice. This is from a Master 101. Christine, what was your reaction when you heard the name Obi-Wan?
Okay, so I'm going to spoil a little bit of the podcast making magic. Christine, knew that it was Obi-Wan in the cell before the reveal, because Ben and I discussed it a little bit prior to the episode. I will admit, I had my initial doubts when Ben wanted to use Obi-Wan for that conversation, because whenever you use like a movie character like that, I feel like there's like a lot more weight behind it, or but I will say, and the end result, that conversation turned out beautiful. It turned out way better than I ever imagined, and I feel like the fact that we were able to dance around the identity, not that the identity meant anything to Cash, but I feel like that made it better, because I think Ben did a great job of playing the right degree of that those trolling aspects of Obi-Wan with the ball against bouncing against the wall, and the talking, and very much that certain point of view sense of logic. I thought the reveal was perfect.
Hey, Christine, I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Why was your first answer to this question not, that is a name I have not heard in a long time?
Because I'm continually a disappointment to you, Brandon.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, just to pick a little nit here, I'm pretty sure that the only name that was given was Kenobi. He's been called a lot of names before, but it's the one he's always gone with is Kenobi.
Oh, fair enough. I think you're right.
And I keep on thinking of Sam Witwer's silliness of Kenobi. The just pained exclamation of Kenobi is amazing.
I gather that there's a voice I should be doing. Is that correct?
Well,
No, I was just messing
I
around.
think Ren has set the standard now, so
Yeah,
you just need to
that's
copy
fine.
what they did.
Kesh, honestly, is the Force to be reckoned with, or is it just convenient for reaching stuff without getting up?
Well, why can't it be both? It's true. My gift is extremely powerful and has myriad of uses and isn't intended to be used lightly, but also sometimes the remote to the holo projector is across the room and I'm very comfortable and I don't want to get up. It's hard to move sometimes with these old bones, so if that docks me a few points with the scorekeeper, so be it. It was worth it. Hey, Ren,
Oh dear.
Yeah.
why do you not want to be the protagonist?
Look,
This is the question on
No.
all of our minds.
I am uncomfortable when there's too much attention on me. This is hard. I had an answer in my head. We've all been at the table with that guy, right? That guy that's like, I need to be the main character. I need all the cool stuff. I need all the attention. DM, pay attention to me. And I just don't ever want to be that guy or even approach being that guy. And I just have such a hard time with the idea of people thinking I want that attention, or because like it was not intentional that I made Skip, I don't know, protagonist material or whatever. It was an accident, I guess.
And that, everyone, is a fantastic example of a refusal of the call,
Oh my god!
which is a step in the hero's journey. And as we all know, Star Wars is all about the hero's journey, so we're on track. How much backstory does Skip have?
Skip has a page of bullet points, which is pretty normal for me. Skip has a lot of blank spaces in there for me to be able to improv where Skip got some random item, or for me to be able to say, oh yes, I did see that sort of thing somewhere, and here's a really awkward story about whatever. But also, I didn't want to give Skip too much because I wanted this to be closer to the start of Skip's adventure rather than have a lot of baggage, I guess. So,
What does Skip think of their new Force ability? Does Skip know?
Skip knows. I mean, it was pretty hard to avoid facing facts when you've just made a wall of tree sprout out from.
Well, I meant, does
Floor.
Skip know what Skip thinks?
Oh,
Or is it
oh,
still
I see what you mean.
Flurble,
Skip was
herbal,
still in
what?
denial. Skip is not sure what Skip thinks. Skip had a lot to sort of mull over in talking to Markov, and is excited and curious, but also there's probably a little bit of trepidation. Pretty simple. Skip is a simple fella.
Who will be forced into increasingly complex equations as their story develops, I'm sure.
Okay, first we start going for the digital roots, then we start going for weird color combinations.
Oh, good gracious.
Skip, what would it take for you to become the leader of this merry group? Seriously, you gotta consider this for a moment.
The leader? Oh gosh, I would. I don't really think that any of us are really the leader per se. I mean,
I'm kind of the leader.
probably one could argue that.
No, you're not.
probably one could argue that really Hillary and Kesh and Koba are all kind of co-leaders because they're older and have a lot more life experience. But I like to think that we're all kind of just together in this thing. I don't know. Did one of them say that they were the leader?
I'm definitely the leader. I was waiting for Brandon to argue with me again.
I'm trying to think of a good thing to say.
I always thought that Koba was kind of the lone wolf, trailing alongside, and Cash certainly thinks of herself as the leader, but I would say it does end up being about, well divided between the three of us, as Skip trails along behind, avoiding making decisions lest they become the protagonist.
And how did it go when I was absent for those few hours?
Very
it
well.
was terrible.
Thank
We
you.
missed you a lot.
It was great.
Well, maybe these people need a leader. I don't know.
Look, everybody that I've ever known that wanted to be the leader and cared about that label.
Doesn't go well, typically.
Well, let's just say, what do you think happens to the leader when you walk into an ambush?
Oh, Criff.
I imagine it involves a puddle.
Not
and some
again.
darkness.
I won't let us get into an ambush. I'm very observant. I know you probably all don't think that, but I think that probably it's harder to ambush us. Maybe.
Those
I
are
don't know.
good skills for a leader to have, Skip.
No, I'm definitely a support class.
With a big rifle.
Yeah, the leader doesn't come in with the giant gun. The leader comes in with, I don't know, maybe like a vibro ring or something. I stand in the background and I shoot things real well, but only if they deserve it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now we had a couple of questions for Leslie.
All right. Mr. T3A wants to know, how many children does Hillary have? And what are their names? Enjoy.
Here's the thing you've got to consider. When you come to dealing with Alina, as a species, we are very family-oriented. And so, while, yes, I do have my own family, my wife Alicia and I, we led the Flying Alorix. The most recent iteration, of course, I took the title from my father. But our eldest was Manchucho, sharpshooter extraordinaire, very gifted, Florian and Arya. And then we had Lentine and Renata, my cousin, Hime, and her husband, Cerulean, had Violet and Indigo. And they traveled with us as well. Violet and Indigo, voices like the stars, just beautiful, beautiful. And I would be remiss if I did not include our beloved Chatterfan assistant, Cam, who did technical things. I don't know the lighting and things. I wasn't allowed to touch most of it because it was very particular. But yes, Manchucho, Florian, Arya, Lentine, and Renata.
Wait, so your Lorenzo friend? Or, wow, you gave away the punchline of what I was just going to say there. Never mind.
Stop.
Forget it.
Rewind. Try again.
Nope, we're good. I'm done.
But
Ruined it.
Ren, please.
I'm seriously impressed, Leslie. Like, I know I could find the names of old Kesha's kids, but she has at least fewer than you've got there, so.
I only have 5 children.
Okay, well, it's still one more. It still counts.
And then 2 cousins and their kids.
Yeah.
And Cam, our Chadrafen support class.
Also, Trandoshan names are like one syllable, so...
Well, I figured on one hand I could go try and look up Alina names, but he's never been to Aline.
Yeah.
So I kind of figure he adopted names as he's been moving around, That's why they're all over the map.
Speaking of Kesha's children, how many of Hillary's children have tried to kill him?
Oddly enough, none.
Oh. Well, there you go, Christine.
That's weird.
You win that category.
Why? Yeah. Oh, that's so strange.
Not typically a violent race, Alina. Family, it's good stuff. We like it.
Oh, Trandoshan's like family, too.
Feel like there's a difference.
What? Now, look, on the flip side, I've never tried to kill one of my children. I only killed my husband, but he had it coming. There was a ritual. It's a whole thing.
See,
Moving on.
We have parties and enjoy soups and meals together, and sometimes we sleep, in a nice pile. It's all very lovely. It's just like a big pile of comfort.
Sounds dangerous.
I don't care if it's canon or not. Alina sleep in huddles.
I am into the Alina sleep pile.
Yep.
Hillary, as a fellow pacifist scholar, I would like to know how you feel about not relying on violence and arms, and a system where who pulled first decides the fate of the world, and a blaster shot not only can do lethal damage, but also open and close doors.
So, you've got to look at it this way. There is always a way to open a door. Sometimes it's with computer slicing, sometimes it's with wrenches, sometimes it's with blasters and grenades, I will admit, and sometimes it's just discussing life with this very charming guard who happens to be missing home. And sometimes they're like, maybe you can I won't notice you going in, and just don't cause any problems. But if we're honest, it's a complicated choice. One that I hope I can continue. Because there's enough people who default to the blaster. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, smart people.
You don't even use blasters.
I have one right here.
Cold-blooded lizard.
I used to. Blasters are
You
cool.
used to do a lot of things, Cash. Just consider that. Maybe it's time to try your words.
All right, so now we have a few questions for our beloved GM. Leslie, take it away.
I'm not muted this time.
Good job.
So, Mr. T, 3A, how would you have dealt with a droid PC for this season?
Oh, good golly.
Well,
It was kind of a running thing we had for the last two, so...
it is, but kind of like the core book itself, yes, droids absolutely can be a good Force adjacent character, but in this case, it just didn't feel right to have a droid in this. That's what I told my wonderful players, that I still wanted to use the morality system in this as we've modified it to show off that end of it. So doing something like what they've done on Force Majeure with Roy doesn't really fit well. And I've got no great desire to be splitting the two mechanics. Like having one run around with an obligation or a duty and having three others running around with morality. That just doesn't fit. Once I jettison that idea as saying I'm wanting to only use one mechanic, well, then we're only using the morality mechanic, and that's just not fair to a droid. Especially for, like, what we discussed last episode. Then the droid's just gonna skyrocket, and we've got guaranteed Paragon there. Or they turn into, like, 000 or whatever you want, and they're this death machine, just so that they're not a Paragon. Which, again, they're great in small doses, but by gum. Everything else would be so vastly different, it just didn't feel like the right thing to have in this season. If this was a home game and not something that's being broadcast to the world, then I'd be okay with it, because it's easier to do a lot of off-the-cuff and house ruling things when you don't have a bunch of people looking over your shoulder doing it. And especially if I'm wanting to run this pretty rules as written, or at least as close to it as possible. At that point, yeah, just running a droid didn't feel fun, and the 4 players found options that they were wanting to do. Would any of you have wanted to take a droid?
I wouldn't, I don't think, just because that's not the point of this game, and part of what we're doing with the whole thing is playing the game given. You know?
Yeah. I only would have done it if there's like a strong kind of a strong character connection, a little bit like what happened with Vern and Billy in series 2, and even then I feel like that would, I guess, focusing on some of the wrong things for this particular outing.
Yeah, bringing a droid to a Force and Destiny game, especially one running a published module, is kind of going off book in a way that's not super helpful. I have thought a lot over time about what I think would make a droid an interesting inclusion in a Force and Destiny game. I wasn't considering playing one for this one, but I've, as a GM and stuff, especially thought about what that conversation would look like if a player was like, hey, I want to make a droid for this Force and Destiny game. And I do think there's like angles that could be pretty cool, but yeah, you've got to do some stuff.
I mean, what the heck's a droid gonna do while everyone's having a Force vision?
Well, one thing that does occur to me that, like, you know, if somebody wanted to be a droid in this campaign, for instance, were I running it and we were setting up at the beginning, if somebody was like, hey, I want to be a droid, potentially, like, the holocron could be a droid instead, for instance. Have kind of Ward left this droid he had with this message.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, like the droid wouldn't be able to do Force stuff. There'd still be questions to answer there as far as like how to run that stuff, but like it's a way that the droid could still be intrinsically linked to the plot.
Yeah.
It also could be even handled where instead of a vision, what if they access like a layer of memories or something that Ward left for them?
Their memory could be all screwed up.
Yeah, it could be played that way. They still have some of that same experience and that connection to the party and to the plot.
So that'd be really cool.
Ren, were you ever considering a droid?
Not for this incarnation or this season. I
Fair enough.
love droids and I want to play one at some point, but I really wanted to play a little Kalaran Froggy Boy. So,
all right, Brandon. Next question's yours to ask.
So this is from Adam. Ben, are there any Force powers you particularly dread appearing in the show because of the impact they can have on the narrative, such as suppress, foresee, or ebb and flow?
Those are my actual answers as I went looking through a list.
Yeah. Why do those?
Foresee specifically because Ward's foresight. And, like, yes, they are different powers. They do actually do different things. But it's one of those things of, well, we've got this shiny new power that is almost specifically just for this adventure. Well, let's show it off. So let's use this weirded out version of Foresee that is Ward's foresight. That starts leading to the joke of, please get someone at Edge Studios at the source.
Yeah.
Suppress is one of those powers that I've just never... There's some powers that from their inception I just don't really like. And Suppress is one of those that just... It's so meta in how it works. It feels to me that it becomes too good too quick in a very not fun way. And Ebb and Flow, if you get someone who's good at playing it, it's a fun one, but it again is one of those really meta ones where you're spending a force point to suffer a strain or to heal a strain. If you're suffering a strain, you're inflicting strain on someone else, or then you start doing this at range, or then you start, as people start getting more and more strain on them, start affecting their dice rolls, which, again, it feels like an end run around the system. At least to me, that's how it kind of feels. Those are the three that I dread anyone going for. Well, Foresee, there's a reason outside of, like, I'm wanting to showcase Ward's foresight, and that actually was a discussion that we had early on. The other two haven't really come up until now, because, well, no one's really been looking at them, but the honest answer is, Suppress and Ebb and Flow are ones that just, they feel so meta.
Yeah, I wouldn't take either of those because I don't know that I would have fun with them. And in the same way that like something like enhance and jumping around a room or sensing somebody's emotions or being thoroughly ridiculous and move as have been fun. Like just shutting down like an enemy force user's force powers. I just that doesn't strike me as interesting.
Yeah, suppress is one of those ones where it's like there's a high probability that you spend XP that you just don't use often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not fun. And like ebb and flows, like strain juggling mechanics. I also like it's very very crunchy. It's the only one of those I would have considered would have been 4C, but we had Matu in Series 1, and we had that conversation up front, hence me taking Ward's Foresight instead of something like 4C, which I quite like as a force power, but, you know,
we had that
want to play with something different. Yeah.
With pretty much of... if it wasn't for Ward's Foresight, if we were doing Ghost of Dathomir, I think the other one is, you would have taken 4C at like the get-go.
Yeah.
4C is a great power. It truly is. It's just we're showing off this, and Ward's Foresight, especially once you start getting into the upgraded stuff, the overlap is most certainly there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, yeah, the rest of the powers I kind of love. Even some of the weirder ones, like Endure is kind of cool. It's situation, but I forget everything that goes on. Like, even Manipulate. I love Manipulate. It's, again, kind of situational. You have to have a very mechanical, like, actual electronics mechanical style campaign. Yeah. So this one probably is not going to be great for the players to take it, but yeah. Like Imbue or Conjure, those would be cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And powers like Manipulate, like, they can fit in campaigns. Also, like, this is how I feel about Suppress also, actually. I wouldn't generally take Suppress for a Force and Destiny game like this, that plays the sort of default assumption of being during the Age of the Empire, but if it were a, like, probably not even a Clone Wars game, because there's not a lot of Force users on the Confederate side, but if it was like a KOTOR game or something...
Yeah.
Where it's like we're playing in an era where it's Jedi versus Sith and there's a lot of Force users running around, things like Suppress become more interesting to me as a tactical decision. And likewise, things like Manipulate become interesting if we know that we're going into a situation where that would be another time, like a Clone Wars game or a KOTOR game or something, where it's like your Force users that are attached to a military force that also has these Star Warsy things, these vehicles
Absolutely.
And starships and stuff.
Yeah. And like, I guess my actual dislike of Ebb and Flow is that it's so numbers heavy that I look at it and it's like, this actually does feel kind of cool. Like, it's very thematic and does all that. Like, it ticks a lot of boxes for me, but there's so much math behind it, so much work behind it, that I just don't want to use it. Yeah. I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Suppress, yeah, you're going up against what? 2, maybe 3 Force users in this adventure? I cannot remember how many is in Act 3.
Yeah.
Then we start messing around with dice, and it's like, yeah, I definitely see where it could be useful, but at least in this one, just, no.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this last question from Rune, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do lightning round this time around.
Quickly.
Okay, and then we had one more question from Rune Larson via email, and to Ben. How often do you truly get surprised about the player's actions/decisions and need to take time before proceeding?
Okay, I want to separate that into the two different aspects of it.
Okay.
Because I get truly surprised about 3 times per act by the players. Like, there's always a character moment that just I was not thinking of, and we need to deal with this. And the players bring this up, and yes, absolutely. Or there's a plan that I hadn't considered coming in from that direction. Yes, let's totally do that. Mm-hmm. I try and be as open to whatever the players are wanting to do. The thing that surprised me the most for Act 1 was in episode 11. We had Skip talking to the holocron. Like, that was a complete Ren thought, this is something that Skip needs to do. And it totally was. 100%. That something just floored me. As, well, okay, yeah, I had never considered this. This is great. The aspect of need to take some time before proceeding, that honestly is a question that I'd have to leave up to the four of you, because I don't remember completely getting utterly gobsmacked more than once this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure if you go through the season and go to the outtakes, you can find someone saying, oh no, we've broken ban. But because that is hilarious outtakes. But yeah, that happened once, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because several times it'll be, I'm just thinking how I'm wanting to proceed so that I'm not steamrolling people. Why, yes, we could have Murkoffs with 8 Guardians. Well, how is that going to be fun? We've not battle tested the heroes yet. Well, let's see. I can always call in more, unless some silly person bars the door and convinces everyone else to leave. Huh.
Not it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I only got one door closed.
But did another one open?
Nice.
It didn't
Very
need
nice.
to. The other one was already open. I've only got short, stubby legs.
Just promise me you'll give Faith a fighting chance. Is it Faith? Is it Faith? I don't know the words, do I? Never mind. Lightning round.
You didn't say it right, Brandon.
Lightning round. Ka-chow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this lightning round is in part by the listeners to just the various heroes, and then because Brandon couldn't resist, Brandon threw a whole bunch in at the end.
Yeah, that's the point of the lightning round, and I hope everybody honor system and didn't.
I didn't
Nope,
realize
I
they
am
were
not
down
like-
there, so I did not.
I noticed it because I noticed Brandon was signed in early, and I immediately went, Brandon's adding to the lightning round, and I just looked and saw Brandon was down at the bottom of the document, and I went on with my life from there.
Yeah, no, I typed with black text on a black highlighter and just trusted that my fingers were doing the correct things.
Okay. Well, Brandon
shall
will ask
find
those
out.
last few for sure. So, for everything else, though, how do we want to handle asking? Do we want to rotate? Do we just want me to ask? How do we want to
I
do
thought
this?
Ren was tagged in for this lightning round.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a conversation we had like months ago where we were
Okay,
talking
so
about
I-
lightning rounds. And I'm like,
I think-
okay, as long as Ren does it.
Yep, I think you're tagged in then, Ren. So you're going to be the
we've
one
done-
reading the questions,
Oh,
which means you
no.
also need to assign who you are asking most of them to, because unless they have a
Pick
name
your
at the front,
victims.
they haven't been aimed at anybody. They were just asked via the Discord.
And if this is a
It's gonna
problem,
go
you don't have to do it.
so Poorly.
If it's too much pressure, I can still do it.
If you want to do it, please go right ahead.
Okay.
I don't know if my energy level
I
is.
mean, I could
I'm just
also
glad
do
I'm
it.
not the only
tonight.
one that remembered that we had that conversation.
Okay, I can.
It wasn't a
I can
fever
handle
dream.
Well,
I remember
Christine,
the
the first
conversation.
question's to you, so somebody has to start that's not you.
Oh,
at
that's
least.
awkward. Yeah.
Christine, ask yourself.
Christine
does
does.
Kesh always tell exactly the same story as to their acquisition of a mechanical arm?
No.
Ooh.
Brandon, will we have a noir special episode centered around Koba's past life with the other characters taking the roles of important characters in this story?
You're breaking up a ton, so I couldn't really hear you say it, but I see the question, so I'm going to answer it as if I could. Maybe. It's not really my decision, ultimately. I wouldn't say no if other people were into it.
So the answer is yes.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Rin, what would Skip not have in their bags/pockets?
Hand sanitizer. It's really bad for amphibian skin.
No, you're
No,
right.
that tracks. Makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. It's just
This
also
wasn't what I was
funny.
expecting.
Beach episode. Leslie, who goes in the water first?
Skip?
Yeah, hi.
Amphibian.
Ren, who has the hello porgy towel?
Skip.
I would have also accepted Hillary.
Brandon, who goes mumbling about sand first?
I don't know. Do amphibians like sand?
Does anybody?
I mean, nobody likes
Cash
sand.
must like sand.
Yeah, true.
No, it's coarse and it gets everywhere.
I don't know. Koba, I guess.
Leslie, who cooks for everyone?
Well, I expect they're all tired of soup when Hillary cooks, so I'm actually going to say Skip again.
Ren,
Good
who would
luck.
fish?
Cash.
Okay.
Kish.
I mean, Skip would probably fish, but like underwater with their mouth, maybe.
Kish, what's your Caverns and Crate Dragons character?
My what? What is this a game? I have to I don't know, some kind of warrior. Yes, a great warrior. Are there blasters in this?
No,
Oh,
no.
now I'm disappointed.
Oh, but you could have a sword.
I do like
You-
swords.
Could have a mace.
Eh.
I always thought you were more of a blunt force myself, but okay. Why did we let Koba DM?
I think because he already owned the books.
Don't look at me.
He had this very elaborate plot in this like 3-ring binder. It was like 100 pages thick. He just seemed very, well, maybe not enthusiastic, but prepared.
I do have to question why Darth Plagueis is always the villain, though.
Look. There's justification. You just haven't gotten to that part of the story yet. Anyway, all of you are in a tavern. The firelight flickers around the wooden bar. Damn it. Sorry. The firelight flickers around the bar and the handful of other patrons, but the shadows hold many secrets. They
I
make
killed
you
him.
think. You can't kill the shadows, Kesh.
Sure I can.
No,
You're the one who was
can't.
always saying, who knows what dangers lurk in the shadows. Well, I'm gonna kill them.
What if I cast light?
No, you're
No.
ruining it.
Yeah. Look, they're not like shadows are the shadows aren't full of enemies, they're full of like regrets.
I slay them.
Oh, if they have regrets, then we should talk to them and figure out if we can help them, make their regrets not regrets anymore.
Less regrettable, would you say?
Look, I think you two are missing the point of this game.
Yeah, this is lightning round.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben, how do you like your Bantha burger?
With a nice slice of mellow run and a little bit of biscuit baron sauce.
Mmm.
Nice. Kobo, what is the airspeed velocity of a Bava fruit laden keto?
91 MGLTs.
Seriously, faster than X-Wing? Huh.
Not in the old X-Wing games anyway. X-Wings went 100.
Oh,
91
right.
was the B-Wing speed.
Yeah.
So faster than B-Wings.
Nerds.
I knew people hated on the B-Wings for a reason. It's because a keto could keep up with them.
Yeah,
Look, I love the B-Wing.
I like the B-Wing too.
I mean, I have nothing against it. I just...
Hey, Christine, what was your pet peeve?
I think these are more meant to be aimed at the characters.
Sure, Kesh, what's your pet peeve?
Hillary.
Koba. Long-winded Dougs. No,
Ooh!
no, I'm being mean. People who don't tip.
Hey, Kesh. Stay in school.
Hey, Koba, why are you so fixated on Darth Plagueis? Plagueis? I don't know, you wrote it out on that board.
Well, clearly the board doesn't make it clear, but everything leads back to Darth Plagueis.
The Gungan.
I mean, that's what the string says, that's for sure.
There is a hidden variable to the galaxy. A lot of things that look unconnected, but when you realize that there is a connection and you just don't know the shape of the connection, the only shape that makes sense is Darth Plagueis.
Are they hidden in the shadows?
Can we stab that?
Oh, because the
I
shadows
slay
have
them.
secrets and
And
regrets.
Yes! High five!
Okay. Hillary, immediate 10 dice 6 lightning bolt, no saving throw.
I have a feat that lets me take half damage on a dodge.
No, you have 2 feet, Hillary.
Feat with an A. Skip, feat with an A.
It's all right, Hillary. I'll avenge you.
Well, I'll just go join the shadows then, I guess.
No regrets.
This both makes me want to do a Caverns and Crate Dragons with this group, and also I feel like we just did. We just did what the whole episode would be about.
And that's the thing, we wouldn't
we
actually
just got
make
the greatest
characters
hits.
or roll any dice or anything. We would just riff until we decided it was time to stop.
Yeah.
Leslie, best game time, drink, or snack?
Now!
Now? What?
It's the best time to take the drink and the snack. Of course, it's totally a valid answer.
Okay,
I actually
fair
already
enough.
finished my snack, so
What was it?
I'll have his cold tea.
Hmm.
Ben, what's your favorite species from the Star Wars?
Herglick.
I mean, I really knew that, so I probably shouldn't have asked you, but they're awesome.
Yes, they are.
Brandon, if the group were a starfighter squadron, what would their name be?
Albatross Squadron.
It's kind of fitting.
Albatross.
I like it. All right, this is the new team name.
Then
All
as
right,
soon
and
as
the
someone
rest are
dies,
Brandon's task.
Then
Yeah, so-
they just bring down the rest. Yeah, that totally works.
OG lightning round. Meaning they're questions that I came up with immediately prior to recording.
The best
Yeah,
kind.
but how the heck can you see them?
I have my ways.
Sure.
Christine, when Ketch falls to the dark side, what will her Sith name be?
Darth Scalidius. I don't know.
Darth Scalidius, okay. Rin, what sound does Gudge make actually, and why is it Wark?
Queh.
I am slain. That was a good answer. Leslie, if all of your Hydean Way characters so far played Sabak, but Billy is not allowed to be the dealer, who would win?
It would still be Billy.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Ben, if you found yourself on the opposite side of the GM screen this season, what species/character would you play? Or career, rather, would you play?
Career.
I assume Herglick is the answer to the species part.
Considering the one of the official rules has to be an officially FFG species. It would be a dualton, and it would be consular armor, I think, is the mix.
Ooh. Red.
I like the armor.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
I know nothing. I will look it up in the near future.
This is for everybody. So you slept in on the day they were handing out lightsabers, and by the time you got to where they were handing out lightsabers, they were out of the saber kind, or any sword kind, really. Fortunately, they have a variety of different weapons with light prepended to the name. What light weapon do you choose?
Nunchucks.
Light nunchuck, solid.
Light whip.
Good, yeah, oldie but goodie.
Ooh.
I wanted a light whip too, but you know what?
A light flail.
No, I felt like whip was appropriate for a performer, but I think I'll go with Tonfa. I like the
Fair enough,
defensive
fair enough.
quality.
I would like a lighter ring.
Oh, come on.
Was that all set up just for that joke?
No.
Okay.
No, he
Ben.
just really wants a lighterang.
Considering the last two people took my two answers, I don't know.
Wow.
Okay, you can have lighterang. I'll take light Warhammer.
Yeah. Then I'll
Light-
totally go with the light axe. You keep your light.
Light heavy flail.
I'll keep
Oh
my
my
light
gosh.
axe.
Can you imagine a light mace? It's just got lightsaber things sticking out of it everywhere.
I think that's cheating.
That sounds fine. There's
Yeah.
nothing in the rules that says a dog can't play basketball.
Now I want a trident and a light net.
Yes.
So the light trident is actually a thing.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say a regular trident with a good stabby end and a
Oh, I
light
see.
trident or a light net.
Oh.
For the light net.
a light
God,
net.
stab.
Interesting.
So a trident net fighter. I like it.
Yeah. All right, finally, a softball. If your character was a metal cover of a Disney song, what song would they be?
Oh no! Why would you say this is a softball?
Trashing
'cause
the
it is,
camp
obviously.
from Tarzan.
Man, now I need to go to YouTube and find out if there's a metal cover of Trash in the Camp. There probably is. There's a metal cover of just about everything from Disney movies.
Somebody who knows Disney songs better help.
I got nothing.
I am trying to look here real quick.
What's your favorite Disney movie?
It was Mulan. But I don't think there's a good cash one there.
I mean, I don't know if you want an identity story, that Reflection comes there.
Yeah.
Metal cover of Reflection.
No. I think Cash would be Let It Go.
I've never even seen that movie.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Man,
I mean, I've heard this song. I mean, it's kind of hard not to have at this point. You know, kind of like not hearing, Toss a Coin to Your Witcher.
hey, to be fair, I just heard that for the first time tonight,
yeah, me
Okay.
too.
officially.
Huh.
And now it's stuck in my head. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
Ren.
it does that.
Look, okay, so I wanted to find something in my brain about adventure or exploration or something, but then I knew I could really kind of troll you all if I said Zero to Hero.
Yes!
No, I'm on board. That's
I'm
great.
so on board for that. And Kobas?
Oh man, I failed to actually come up with my own answer to this question, which is maybe an error in judgment.
It is.
And
You
how?
had to know the mirror would come.
Is there a conspiracy one?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of if there's one that's I don't know. I think it's probably a metal cover of Bells of Notre Dame, just run
Ooh.
together.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking of a metal cover of Oodalali.
No,
actually,
I like
It
that.
would be Not in
Yeah,
Nottingham.
that
Think
would-
about how depressing that song is.
Oh yeah, that's not bad either.
Yeah.
It was only
Although-
be Not on
I want
Malastair.
Oodalali now. Oh, goodness.
Yeah,
Not
metal
on
is-
Malastair.
I don't know. I do
Oh
like
my
rallying through
goodness.
talking about like what evils lurk in the hearts of men and everything.
Yeah. I don't know. GM wise, I just like poor unfortunate souls.
Oh no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, no, that's
especially with the
good.
Force and Destiny context.
Yep.
Yeah,
There is a great metal cover of that
Is
I
there
have no doubt.
that I listen to rather
the
frequently.
magic of the internet? I just
Yeah,
thought
I-
that Trashing the Camp was like
I
fun
I
for
forgot
don't
us.
his
know
name.
that I've ever heard a
There's
metal
a-
cover of a Disney song before.
There's a
Okay.
guy. I will
Missing out.
find. I will
that
find
guy.
him.
Yeah.
That's an entire section of YouTube. Like
Yeah.
there are plural numbers of metal covers of most Disney songs, and they are
Okay,
often
okay.
amazing. Especially every metal cover of Hellfire. Every metal cover of Hellfire.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
I don't even know
That
what
makes
Hellfire.
so much
like,
sense.
From The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah,
It's the
villain
villain
I
song.
don't know
and
that
it
I've
is
ever seen
amazing.
that one.
Sweetie, you still have to come over and watch more movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
mean, when's
hearing.
the last time we did that?
I can make you popcorn.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Heroes of the Hydian Way. You can find show updates on Twitter at The Hiding Way, and you can find me, Ben, on Twitter at Deuterium Ice.
Hey, I'm Ren. You can find me on Twitter at Atomic Firebird or on Make Believe Info.
You can find me on Twitter at 12th Night. That's 12th and Night with a K.
I am at Leslit GSSS. Dramatic Echo.
And I'm at Blue of the Ken, or if you want to check out my Star Trek actual play, where Christine is also around, at Endeavor Show.
You might not know it, but you do want to check that out.
Yeah.
Super do.
Quality.
We are all at thehidingway.com, where you can find previous episodes.
You can find more of those aforementioned previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Plus, you could really help us out by rating, reviewing, and subscribing.
We're also on Facebook as The Hiding Way. You can holocom us at heroes@thehidingway.com.
If you like what we do and want to support the show, reach out to us on patreon.com/thehidingway.
Sorry, I was searching for a joke or something else to say besides toss a cred.
Give a
Back
calf.
to the calf.
Yeah, or you can buy us a calf at ko-fi.com/thehidingway.